If you watched my video where I listed off my top 10 unpopular opinions that I have about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then you're already aware that Thor Ragnarok is my least favorite of the Thor movies, and Dark World is my favorite of the Thor movies. But with all the backlash that Dark World got and all of the praise that Ragnarok received, why do I feel this way? Why do I think that Ragnarok is frankly a bad Thor movie? Let me just say right off the bat, I really enjoyed Ragnarok as a movie, just as a comedy. It was funny and I laughed a lot. And let me also say that I totally understand why people love Ragnarok so much. I just happen to disagree with their taste. Some might be quick to assume that I'm just trying to be all hipster and love the movie that everyone hates, but I mean, I already love Dark World, and I was really excited for Ragnarok and was hoping that it would live up to Dark World because I love Dark World. I can't say that enough. I really enjoyed Thor Dark World. And the moment I stepped out of the theater and had time to process my thoughts, I already knew that I didn't like Thor Ragnarok. Now, in my unpopular opinion videos, like the MCU one and the one I did last week, which was the Disney unpopular opinions, I stick to definition 2, right? Which is that's just my taste, my personal taste. I like A more than B or whatever, what have you. I steered clear of definition 1, which can be phrased as I think A is better than B, just as an example. Well, in this video, I'm going with definition 1. I definitely think Thor Ragnarok is a bad Thor movie, and I definitely think Dark World is the best Thor movie. That said, such a statement is not objective. It's not fact. It's still an opinion. It's just a stronger opinion. We good? Good. Now, some of you, if you were listening very clearly, have already caught on that I never said Ragnarok was a bad movie. In fact, I said it was a great comedy, but rather I said it's a bad Thor movie, and yes, there's a difference. If you're looking at Ragnarok just as a movie, not in context of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Thor movies even, just those 3 movies, then yeah, great movie, it's hilarious. But for me, when I look at it in that context, looking at the whole universe and even just those 3 Thor movies, it does not live up at all in my opinion. In fact, it completely is devoid of any sort of path whatsoever. It just went off the rails and crashed and burned. And my opinion on this has nothing to do with little nitpicks about like why wasn't Hela a bigger part of the movie, or the fact that Thor's best friends were just killed randomly, suddenly, for no good reason, and they never even talk about it. Yeah, I'm not actually talking about those things. That's not why I didn't enjoy Thor Ragnarok, because I did enjoy it, just not as a Thor movie. No, I'm looking at the general feel of the movie, the aesthetic of the movie, things that I'm probably the only person that cares about these things, so hence why I'm probably in the minority on these thoughts, whatever. The first 2 movies, while not typically anyone's favorites in the grand scheme of the MCU, set up a really good aesthetic for what the Thor movies were gonna be. They're serious, with a little bit of comedy, they are grand, they are epic, they are otherworldly, and be prepared for me to use the words epic and grand a lot. It makes sense. Every MCU set of character movies has their own aesthetic. Iron Man seems to be more rock and heavy metal. Ant-Man is kind of like 60s, 70s, kind of silly, fun, and upbeat. Guardians of the Galaxy, they are 80s because they center around Star-Lord, Peter Quill, who only has his music from when he was a kid in the 80s. And like I said, Thor is grand and epic. And this was great because when Thor went to Earth, he kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, but not like too much, but just enough to where it was funny. And what did Ragnarok give us? Rock music? Really? Are you serious? Don't get me wrong, sometimes it almost worked, but it was not Thor at all, not the Thor they had been giving us. They just took what had been working, what wasn't broken, and decided, well, we think it is broken, so we're going to toss it out the window and make it new, when there was nothing to fix. And it's not the rock music itself that I dislike, it's context. Now some might argue, well, they weren't on Asgard like hardly ever, so it makes sense that there was a change in music. I agree with the idea that there was a change in music, but rock music that is clearly Earth people music, that does not fit at all. I would totally understand kind of changing up the score a little bit, still keep it epic and grand, but, you know, change the tone a little bit. Maybe a little bit less serious, I don't know. But going for rock music, this isn't Iron Man. Stop trying to be a different franchise. Stay Thor. Also, I love the Immigrant Song as much as the next person, but they didn't just use it once, they used it twice. It was overkill the first time they played it, so yeah. I told you I had stronger opinions about this. I warned you, so don't. I'm just saying. Point being, the rock music did not fit Thor at all. And music is a huge deal to me. Music, in my opinion, can make or break any form of media. Video games, theater, movies, and in this case, it broke it. But I guess it isn't all that ill-fitting considering how they ruined Thor, the character. The humor, it was funny, to be sure, but it wasn't Thor funny. It was overkill, and it wasn't the character we knew at all. I know, Chris Hemsworth kept saying that he wanted Thor to be super funny now, and I'm like, I'm sorry, has it been your doppelganger playing Thor and all the other appearances? Because Thor was funny, a different kind of funny, not everyone else's funny. Let's name off a few examples, okay? The first Thor movie. I like this. Bring me another. Thor: Dark World. Handcuffs Loki. I thought you liked tricks. Also Thor: Dark World. Walks into a house, hangs Mjolnir on a coat rack. Avengers. He killed 80 people in 2 days. He's adopted. Avengers: Age of Ultron. Steve Rogers almost picks up Mjolnir. Nervous laugh. Side note, I don't think you can be almost worthy, so I think Captain America could have picked it up. Moving on, my point is, Thor was already funny. He was a unique kind of funny, a serious kind of funny, not this what seemed like a copycat of other Avengers characters type of funny. It was not his kind of humor, and it felt forced. Yeah, I laughed, and that's why I emphasized that I like Ragnarok as a movie, but not in the MCU, and let alone the Thor movies at all. Now, some people try to justify this change in style of humor and style in general because it was prep for when he meets the Guardians. That is complete and utter elephant dung. You know what made that scene funny? The fact that Thor was so different. The fact that Thor was serious. It was a stark contrast, no pun intended, to the Guardians. And in fact, it would have been even funnier if they had not tainted the image of Thor, trying to make him funnier than he is. In other words, we got a dumbed down version of Thor, and I did not like it. And yes, again, I recognize I'm in the minority on that. In fact, Thor's funny moments in Infinity War were like how it used to be. It wasn't over the top. It was just little things. Things like, oh, I see you copied my beard. This is Tree Man. I took Groot as an elective in school. Little things like that lighten the mood ever so subtly. That's the good Thor humor. That's what we thankfully got in Infinity War, not this overdone crap that we got in Ragnarok. Despite my sassiness and no-nonsense attitude I have about this movie, I'm sure that most of you, if you're mature, are listening to what I'm saying thus far and going, yeah, okay, I get it, I disagree, but I respect your opinion. You don't like the aesthetic, you miss the serious Thor, and you didn't feel like Ragnarok gave you the Thor that you liked. And we would agree to disagree because, again, it's just an opinion, right? Well, hold on to that thought, because you might not be as happy with what I'm about to say. You've been warned. My ultimate feeling about Thor Ragnarok when the movie was over and I walked out of the theater was this. Wow, did they seriously just try to copy Guardians of the Galaxy? That's what it felt like. Every time there was a bunch of humor all of a sudden, just over-exaggerated humor, it felt like they were copying Guardians to me. I don't know why, that's just how it felt. Now, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Love them. So good they rehired James Gunn. No one else can direct that movie but him. But think of it this way. What if for the next Guardians movie, they made it really serious, and it was some really big, epic, ethereal score? None of the 80s music. None of the silly humor. You'd be upset, right? Because that's not Guardians. That sounds like Thor. The reverse is true for me. They took Thor and made him into something he's not. They took the serious with a little bit of comedy and decided to make it, whoa, so crazy funny. And it felt wrong. They took out the grand and epic score and replaced it with rock music. Thor is not silly humor. Thor is not rock music and cheap jokes. Thor is grand, mighty, serious, and epic. It wasn't a broken method. They shouldn't have tried to fix it. Why did they fix it? Probably for box office reviews. Thor's never the favorite, and I honestly think it was a money grab thing. And thank goodness they went back to old Thor, in my opinion, for Infinity War. Because the Thor we got in Ragnarok, that whole movie felt like it was trying to be something it's just not. Again, I'm not getting into all the nitty-gritty issues that I might see. We'd be here for hours, and that's boring. I'm talking about the aesthetic, the feel, the things that typically matter to me and no one else. Again, I still enjoyed Ragnarok as a movie, but not as a Thor movie, and if I had my stubborn way, it wouldn't even be considered part of the MCU, let alone Thor. But as always, I'm glad a lot of people enjoyed it, but maybe now people can understand why I thought it shouldn't be as glorified as it is, or glorified at all. Even if you disagree, hopefully you understand. I wasn't originally going to do this video, but since my MCU Unpopular Opinions video, I've gotten people asking, why are you dissing on Ragnarok and loving Dark World? Dark World was so stupid. No, it wasn't. You just don't like it in your opinion, whereas I think it's the best. And hey, maybe there are some of you out there, very few of you, that are going, oh, someone gets it, and you're raising your hands and understanding and gratefulness. And the rest of you might be raising your fists. Might be a little upset with me. It's fine. It's just an opinion. A very strong opinion. But an opinion still, nonetheless. It's not a matter of morality. It's not an objective thing. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, even if you completely disagreed with me on every point I made, then you should like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Comment below. I do videos every Wednesday, poetry videos on Saturdays, live streams on Wednesdays and Saturdays. It's a good time. Check it out. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening to me rant in a very sassy way about my opinion on why I don't like Ragnarok as a Thor movie. Glad you made it this far. You must not totally hate me. I honestly wouldn't care if you did, it's just the internet, it's okay. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. And of course, thank you so much to my patrons like Justin, Greg, and Andrew. Y'all's support is very much appreciated. And if anyone else would like to get in on the special stuff that I offer my patrons, just go to patreon.com/thegeekapprentice. The link is in the description below.